At Christmas dinner, I overheard my parents planning to move my sister's family into my $350,000 condo for free. I smiled and stayed quiet. I let them pack and brag. Then I sold it and vanished. 78 missed calls. The voices coming through the outdoor were muffled by the relentless Seattle rain, but their intent was clear. I stood on my parents' welcome mat, my coat heavy with water, listening to the dismantling of my life over pot roast. Morgan makes six figures, my brother-in-law Blake said, that familiar edge of unearned confidence in his voice. She doesn't need a 2,000 square foot loft just for herself. My hand hovered over the brass knocker. Through the gap in the curtains, I saw them huddled like generals. My sister Sabrina dabbed her eyes with a tissue, playing the fragile victim. My parents, Richard and Susan, nodded in sympathetic unison. But what if she says no? She won't get the chance. That was my father. The man who taught me loyalty was a one-way street paved with my paycheck. Once you're inside and get mail delivered, you establish squatters' rights. She'd have to go through a formal eviction. In this city, that takes 6 months minimum. My mother let out a sharp, pleased laugh. And she's going on that deployment to Tokyo in January. 3 full months. We'll have the nursery painted and the locks changed before she even lands. My own parents, plotting a hostile takeover of the sanctuary I'd restored brick by brick, the only physical proof of 15 years of 70-hour weeks as a strategic risk analyst. They weren't borrowing it. They were stealing it. I took a breath. I didn't feel anger. I felt the cold clarity of a spreadsheet balancing out. They had forgotten who I was. I don't get mad. I assess risk. I eliminate liabilities. I arranged my features into a mask of holiday warmth and pushed the door open. Merry Christmas. The silence was heavy, like air before a lightning strike. 4 guilty faces snapped toward me. For a microsecond, I saw raw panic. Then the masks slid back. "Morgan, sweetheart." My mother rushed forward, wiping her hands on her apron, her expression transforming from malice to maternal warmth in a blink. "We didn't expect you until 7. I let her hug me. It felt like embracing a pillowcase filled with stones. The house smelled of pot roast and damp wool, a stifling contrast to my loft, where the air was always cool and smelled of cedar and rain. "I caught an earlier flight," I lied smoothly. "Couldn't wait to see everyone." I took the hard wooden chair they offered at the edge of the room. The comfortable spots were for the real family. "So, Morgan," my father began, leaning forward with the gravity of a man asking for a kidney. "We've been thinking about the baby, about logistics." As he droned on about Sabrina's high-risk pregnancy and need for a stress-free environment, my mind opened the mental ledger I kept locked away. A book filled with red ink. Exhibit A, Blake's startup, $15,000, vanished in 4 months. Exhibit B, Dad's pension gap, $8,000, later spent on a cruise to Cabo. Exhibit C, Sabrina's credit card consolidation, $12,000, spent on a dog and a new wardrobe. I wasn't a sister or a daughter. I was a subscription service, and since you'll be in Tokyo for 3 months, my mother wheedled, your beautiful loft will just be sitting there empty. "Just until the baby comes," Sabrina added, clutching a throw pillow. "The stairs here are so hard on my hips." They weren't asking. This was a demand dressed as a favor. They were banking on my conditioning, betting I was too desperate for their approval to say no. I took a slow sip of water from a chipped mug. I let the silence stretch. "You know," I said, my voice soft, "I hadn't thought about the stairs. The loft is serene, perfect for a nursery." The shock in the room was palpable. My mother clapped her hands. "Oh, Morgan, I knew you'd understand. Family takes care of family. I can leave the keys under the mat on the 28th. I fly out early the next morning." "We'll take good care of it," Blake said, already mentally measuring my walls for his posters. "I know you will," I said. I reached into my bag and pulled out the $300 bottle of Barolo I'd brought. A peace offering, now repurposed as a sedative, opened the stead. They raised their glasses to toast my generosity, to toast their victory. They were drinking to their new home. I was drinking to the demolition. Later, back in my loft, I pulled up the security feeds. I needed final proof. The timestamp read December 22nd. My father walked in first, using a key he must have swiped from my bag. Blake followed with a tape measure. "It's bigger than I thought," Blake said, scuffing his boots on my hardwood floors. "Focus," my father said, walking into my office. He stared at my workspace, my certifications on the exposed brick wall. "This is the nursery." "The brick is kind of ugly," Blake commented. "Too industrial. Maybe we can drywall over it, or just paint it white." "Paint it," my father agreed casually. "Morgan won't notice. She's never here anyway. She'll get used to it. She always adjusts." I closed the laptop. The violation was absolute. I picked up my phone and dialed Julian, a venture capitalist who hunted opportunities for sport. "Morgan, this is late for a risk assessment. I have a proposition. You still interested in the Pioneer Square loft?" A pause. "You're selling? I thought that place was your soul." "It was," I said, my voice steady. "Now it's a liability. $360,000 cash, 60 under market. What's the catch? Two conditions. We close in 48 hours, and I need an immediate gut renovation. Demolition crew at 10 a.m. on December 28th. I want it uninhabitable by lunch." "You want me to destroy a historic restoration?" "I want you to remodel. Make it yours. Just start the demo on the 28th. "Someone hurt you," he said, not asking. "Someone underestimated me. Do we have a deal? Send the contract." The next 48 hours were a masterclass in asset liquidation. I moved everything of value into storage. Then I staged the loft. I bought a sofa that smelled of wet dog, a wobbly table, lumpy mattresses. It was a facade of comfort masking decay. Finally, the Trojan horses, 4 festively wrapped boxes in the closet. Inside my father's, 5 years of receipts for bills I'd been paying with a cancellation notice. Inside my mother's, the statements for the credit card she thought was limitless, now cut off. Inside Blake's, the loan documents for his failed crypto rig, the debt now transferred back to him. Inside Sabrina's, the cancellation notice for the gold-tier health insurance I'd been covering. I wasn't just evicting them from my home. I was evicting them from my payroll. I placed the keys under the mat and drove to the airport. Asterisk, December 28th, 10:02 a.m. PST. SeaTac First Class Lounge. On my laptop, the high-def feed showed my living room. Blake was asleep on the foul sofa. Sabrina waddled in, complaining about the mattress. The front door unlocked. 3 men in suits and 6 construction workers with sledgehammers entered. "I'm Marcus Stone, head of security for Apex Development. You are trespassing on an active construction site." "Trespassing?" My father laughed. "My daughter owns this loft. Morgan King sold this property on December 26th, Stone said, his voice flat. "Demo starts now." A sledgehammer hit the drywall. Crack. Chaos. "Where is she?" my mother shrieked. "She loves us." Then Blake found the gold boxes. He tore his open. His face morphed from confusion to horror. "It's a bill." She stopped paying the loan. The walls came down around them, literally as they scrambled, clutching boxes of their own financial ruin, chased by the dust of my former life. 6 months later, Kyoto, the rain here is gentler. A sound that cleanses. A courier had delivered a letter in a frantic scrawl I recognized. "Sabrina, I finished my tea before opening it. We're in a motel off the highway. Mom cries every night. Dad's pension is being garnished. Everyone saw the eviction video. You destroyed us. Are you happy now?" I read it twice. I felt nothing, not hatred. That would be a connection. This was the quiet quit of the soul. I had retired, resigned from the job of being their daughter. I folded the letter and placed it in the recycling bin. There was one loose end, the innocent. I sent a secure message to my lawyer. Status of the trusts. The reply was instant, executed, irrevocable. Education and living expenses for your nephews, accessible at 18. Parents have no access and no knowledge. My nephews would have a future. Their parents had made their choices. They bet their survival on my compliance, and the market had crashed. My new sanctuary isn't made of brick and glass. It's this silence, the peace of knowing my resources are finally, irrevocably my own. They tried to take my sanctuary, so I gave them the only thing they truly earned. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Also, Happy New Year. As we step into 2026, I'd love to know how do you wish each other a Happy New Year in your culture. If you enjoy these stories, please support the channel so we can keep this community growing.